Whew. Okay. This is another black box um video. Well, I'm about to say reading. Goodness, another black box video. Wait, let me turn down this TV. Okay. So basically this video, black box is the truth is for myself. You know, so yeah, just to document what I know. All right, so how can I say this? Well, how can I start off this? Come on, Demetra. Okay, so I was thinking of the song, that Beyonce song. It's like I never said yes. I think the name of the song is Yes. I don't know, but it goes like it's like I never said yes the first time I said no. So that got me thinking about a time, the first time I said no to someone. And so, my son, this was years ago, my son, Melvin, it was with his dad. And Melvin was like 2.5 years old. It was like 2.5 years old. I think it was June. I'm gonna say June, July-ish of 2017. No, probably before that, actually. I don't know, but it was 2017. It was like during the spring, or it was May. Actually, no, it was before May. It was either early May or before May, before child support was filed. It was like a couple of weeks before that. Um, Not child support, child custody. Child custody was filed. So, anyways, so mind you, my son Melvin, he was 2.5 years old. And as a mom, with kids and stuff like that, like if he have, I'm just speaking on him, but this is in general with all of my children. Like if they had doctor's appointments or they were sick or something, I had to be the one to go and pick them up, which was fine because that was something that I know that, I didn't mind doing, as a mom. So, Melvin, he, this particular time, well, okay, I'm gonna say this. With Melvin, when I was pregnant with Melvin, oh my goodness. Man, it was some, woo, that was, that'll be a separate video, maybe probably a video after this, I don't even know. But when, um, when after I had Melvin at Mercy Hospital in Baltimore, I had to drove my own self home. You know what? I'm gonna say this for a whole nother video for that one. But basically, he ended up getting sick before I went back to work when he was a newborn. He had pediatric bronchitis. No, not bronchitis. Something when he had to use a nebulizer machine and had to get like some steroids and stuff like that because he was stuff was in his lungs. And this was in December, going on January. So, anyways, I took I took that whole 12 weeks off instead of going back to work like, I don't know how many weeks, I think 8 weeks. But anyways, so he was sick. So, of course, that was time off that I, took off, that I stayed off because he was sick. So, fast forward to throughout the years, he's 2.5 years old at this time, and he had doctor's appointments. He, been sick a couple of times. He injured himself a couple of times. Found out he's autistic. Took off to take him to a pediatric neurologist, to Kennedy Krieger appointments, Baltimore Infants and Toddler program. Left work early, came to work late, um, stuff like that. So it's like, and it's like when I was working, well, the job that I had, they gave us like 2 weeks, I believe, vacation time, and I believe 1 week of personal time, if I remember correctly. But that whole time, like I'm gonna say 90% of that time that they give you for being off went to my kids in some kind of way, them being sick or just regular doctor's appointments and stuff like that. Not even with me, because I rarely get sick or gotten sick. So shoot, if I did get sick, with a cold or something or a cough, I would still be going to work, because I'm like, shoot, I was already paycheck to paycheck. Like, I'm not going to take no more time off because I got a cough. Let me take some Theraflu, the liquid kind, and be good with it. Drink some tea or something, that kind of thing. So so basically, for 2.5 years, yeah, I was, doing all that, using my time up for my son, for my kids. Well, for Melvin, my son. So this one particular time, it was a little bit before May. I can't remember the exact date, but it was a little bit before May, or like I said, early May. Um, I was actually in the process of looking for an apartment, another place to live, because the place that I was currently living in, they didn't want to renew me, because I have been late a few times. I haven't gotten evicted from this place, but it was a time when they were sending, when I sending, well, yeah, I guess sending also, but well, where I'm from, they put like a sticky on your door, and then they put it on the front of the building door. They ain't even put it on your individual, unit door. They put that sucker right inside the building door. So anybody that coming in the building know, oh, a yellow paper, this, know if somebody's behind and how much they got to pay. So that did happen a couple of times when I was living there. I stayed there for about 2 years. In this particular place, the first time I moved to Baltimore by myself in Sedonia, that apartment was real nice. Like, I mean, any apartment that I'd be moving to, even, my first ones is like an upgrade with something. But anyways, so, and then the thing is, the people at the apartment complex, the um the people who work there, what is it, the people called, the management, well, whatever, they ain't even like notify me like, hey, we're not renewing your lease. I called up there, like maybe a month and a half before my lease supposed to renew, to see how much it was going to cost. So that's when they told me, oh, yeah, we not renewing you, whatever. I'm like, well, when was somebody going to tell me, whatever. So they was like, well, if you do want to stay, your rent was going to be, I think they said like 1,400 and something a month for a 2 bedroom, which nowadays, I guess that's like the average price. But I was started off paying, when I got there, it was like not, I want to say 989 when I got there. Then when I renewed it, it was like 1,000 and something, $1,050. But then y'all telling me, and I think it went to, I don't know, like 1,000 and something, like 1,200. No, not even 1,200. It wasn't even 1,200. But anyways, they were saying if I wanted to stay, that apartment, I will be paying like 1,400 something dollars. I'm like, oh, no, I will be moving. I was like, that's a big ass jump. And then the guy was like, well, a lot of apartments now for a 2 bedroom, especially the kind you have, that's what they going for now. And I'm like, well, y'all gonna be doing any upgrades or whatever in the unit? Well, no, and whatever. I'm like, oh no, I'll find someplace else. So that gave me, I'm gonna say, probably, yeah, like a month and a half for me to find another place to move to. So I was like, I do not want to go back to Waldorf. That was just, I was just came from Waldorf, and then driving from Waldorf to Baltimore on Security Boulevard where I used to work, that rush hour traffic back and forth took me like 2 hours. I was like, oh no, I be getting off of work at 5 o'clock, and I'll be getting to my mother's house in Waldorf till about 7, a little bit before 7. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go back to Waldorf. I'm good. I need to find a place in Baltimore somewhere, but no. So, so what happened? Yeah, so during this time, I'm like, and every other weekend, my sons be with their dad. So I'm like, I gotta do it, like go to different apartment places and look at them every other weekend. I didn't want to take my kids or whatever with me while I'm looking at apartments. And in these places, you actually go inside the unit, the available unit. Of course, this is pre-COVID, or whatever. So I was like, all right, I need to go every other weekend. But in some places I'm researching, some of them was closed on the weekends, and I'm just like, okay, now I need to go in the middle of the week, um, tell my supervisor I'm coming in a little late or something, or I gotta leave a little early, or I gotta, during my lunchtime, I'm going to be gone for extra, amount of minutes or whatever, because a place right down the street, something. So I was like, all right, I gotta do that. So mind you, during this time, I ain't had no kind of time left. Like my checks was short. Like if I missed a day, if I came in late, if I left early for whatever reason, it was like my check was short. I ain't had no time to make up for it. Ain't had no time to make up for it or whatever. So I was like, I need to get, you know, come to work on time and, stay there most of the time. I'm trying to say. And the job that I have, they don't do no overtime. It's like you do your 8 hours and you go. So, yeah, you do the 8 hours and you go. So basically, I'm over here watching this movie and I'm sorry, I watch it. Hear no evil, see no evil. I don't watch this. I watched this movie so many times and it's still funny. But okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I was like, I gotta, go to these places. Like I said, the sale was gonna be in Baltimore, so throughout the day, like far as going to work a little late, go to these apartment places and when they open up so I can fill out the form and yada 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 and maybe tour and this and that and then go straight to work right after. Or see can I get at least three done and then be at work, in the afternoon, for the half a day. But mind you, so that's what I was like doing every so often. So like I said, get paid every 2 weeks. My check was short. And then I still had to pay rent, still had to pay other bills, which bills was getting paid, but yeah, they was getting paid late or partial payments, but they were still getting paid for the most part, but whatever. So so basically my son Melvin, yeah, I'm tie all this in. So my son Melvin, like I said, he was like 2.5 years old, and so he had got sick. I think he had a cough or something he was going on with him, and so what happened? Yeah, something was going on with him. So I went to work or whatever, and his grandmother was washing him at the time. She's the only child that she's washing, at the time or whatever. So, and that's his grandmother. So she had called me at work. It was like, yeah, Melvin coughing or he nothing about no fever though, because the fever, yes, that's just serious. But she was like, yeah, he's coughing, he got runny nose and this and that, and I'm like, okay. So she was like, yeah, you think you can leave work and take him to the doctor? And I'm like, call his dad. And that's the first time I actually said call his dad, because during this time it was like, hey, it's been 2.5 years, you can step up to the plate, as far as taking them places like to the doctor, whatever, without me. Because anytime that our son had to go to the doctor, if his dad wanted to come, which was no big deal if he didn't want to come, but if his dad came to doctor's appointments, I would be the one to take him there. Like, I will meet up over his mom's house and we'll go, to the doctor's appointment or whatever together and stuff like that. So I'm like, shoot, I can't do it or whatever. So I was like, well, call his dad. So I guess she had a problem with calling her son and asking her son to leave work or whatever to take, his son to the doctor's office. And the doctor office at the time was no more than 10 minutes away from her house, from the grandmother's house. No more than 10 minutes away from the grandmother's house. And then, my job was, I don't know, maybe about 40 minutes from there. or whatever. But like I said, this was during the time when I'm trying to get my hours, and I'm like, I'm already taking time off to look for places. Like, I don't want to take some more time off to take my son to the doctor when his dad can take him when he just, coughing and, sneezing or whatever. Yes, I get that, but I can take in the patient first after work, something like that. Like, it wasn't, whatever. So basically, she had called me or texted me like a few minutes later and was like, yeah, he's, I think you need to take him and this and that or whatever. And I'm like, well, I can't leave work at the time. I can't leave work. So then she was like, well, call his doctor office and see can somebody else bring the patient up there, like let them know his grandmother bringing him up here, yada yada, or somebody else bringing them up there instead of the parents. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I called the doctor office right when I got off the phone with her, explained to the doctor people, the receptionist, my son is sick. Of course, they know him, they know, the guy that's file or whatever. And I think they be having call ID too, so they knew. It seemed like they knew it was me calling. But anyways, so I explained to them, like, I'm at work. My son, grandmother going to be bringing him up there. Is that okay? And this and that. They was like, yeah, that's fine. The lady was like, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I think I'm talking about. It's okay. Don't want to wake up. Don't want to wake up my daughter. She over here asleep. It's okay. You go back to sleep. Okay. So, what was I saying? So yeah, I called the doctor office and then let them know. And the lady was like, yeah, that's fine. Just bring them on up here, this and that. I'm like, okay, cool. So I got off the phone, called the grandmother, and was like, I just talked to them. They said, that's fine if you bring them. If somebody bring them, that's fine. Already notified them. She was like, oh, okay. So that was it. That was the end of that. Fine, cool. And then me and his dad was like on a schedule for ever since what Melvin was ever since he was 1. He just turned 1 in December. So I'm gonna say ever since February or so, me and his dad, that following year, his birthday, he turned 1 in December. So then in February, me and his dad was on like a schedule with him, like, the days that I have him and the days that his dad would have him. So at this time, so just say that happened, my son was one in 2 months, 1 in a month. And then on this time, he was 2.5 years old. So we had a schedule going for that long, everything cool. So this particular day when he was sick, when he had to go to the doctor's office, his doctor's office, it was on a day that his dad would have him after work. It wasn't my scheduled day, it was his dad's day. So anyways, he got, somebody took him to the doctor. He got checked out, and then here go his grandmother texting me and calling me, leaving me a message. Oh, they sent him a prescription. Can you go pick it up at the CVS pharmacy, yada yada. And I'm like, his dad have him today. His dad can pick up the prescription and give it to him. I'm just like, what in the world? Like, come on now. He went to the doctor. He got a prescription. This is dad day. His dad can handle all of that. So that's basically what I'm saying to her. But I guess she didn't want to hear that, you know. So I was like, well, I can't do it. I got something I got to do after work, which I did because I was going to go to another place after work before they close. And then I ended up canceling that place because I'm like, I told her I wasn't going to do it. But then, of course, me, when I got off the phone with her, I started thinking, and I'm just like, you know what? Let me go pick up, my son's prescription. It seemed like his dad can't do it. I can just pick it up and then drop the prescription off to his dad, whatever. Fine. So I get to the pharmacy. This is after work now. I get to the pharmacy to pick up the prescription. Wait in line. The cashier was like, oh, somebody just came and picked it up. I'm like, for real? She was like, yeah. She said no more than about 5 minutes ago, somebody just came and got it. I was like, oh, okay. So in my head, I was like, goodness, I could have did what I was planning on doing. So anyways, I went home. I went back to the apartment or whatever and chilled and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna say this was on a Thursday, and then we would have every other weekend. Like rotate every other weekend. That was on a Thursday, his dad day. So then Friday came, which his dad's supposed to have him, and what happened? Yeah, his mother was texting me, was like, yeah, I think you need to get Melvin, my son. She was like, even though he got prescription and medicine, he should be with his mom, this and that. You're his mother. And I'm like, well, your son is his dad. Okay, here you go. I know I'm talking too much. I done woke you up. Let me go in the room. Hold on, Eleanor. I'll be back in a few minutes. How long is this? Oh, okay. Yeah, let me hurry up with the story. Okay, Demetra, let me hurry up. Okay, so anyways, she was like, yeah, I think you need to come and get him. He should be with his mom. So I'm like, well, he's with his dad. So in my mind, I was thinking about saying some stuff, but I was like, I don't know if that's going to be disrespectful to her, because I was about to be like, well, that's your son. You basically saying your son don't even know what he's doing with his own child. He's 2.5 years old. Like, come on now. How you don't know how to read the instructions on how much medicine to give him. So I wanted to say like all that, which I really should have said, but I was just saying, well, he's with his dad. His dad should know what to do. I wasn't going all into detail. Like, come on now, your son is X amount of old, and he don't know how to do this. Come on now. So basically, he stayed with his dad. I didn't go over there and pick up my son. I called to check on him, be like, okay, how's he doing? And his dad was like, yeah, he good. Gave him the medicine. He good. He sleep. I'm like, okay, cool, fine. Son is fine. Nothing going on with him. Just the cold. So now I say this to say that was the first time I said no to these people. And to not leaving work early to take my son to the doctor the first time ever, okay? The very first time. So that opened up a whole box of drama. Because after that, I hear you, Allie Bally. Because after that, that's when, like, all his family, I'm talking about Melvin's family, his mom, his aunts and everything, these same people, we been friends on Facebook, like, when I had Melvin, after I had Melvin, and I'm posting pictures of, all of my kids, and they would comment, oh, you're a great mother. Oh, I love these pictures. You're such a great, mom to your sons and this and that. Why these same people start saying, oh, she don't even know what she doing. She's not a real mother, and, she need to get slapped. Like, I got threatened, on Facebook by Melvin's aunt. One of Melvin's aunt was like, yeah, she need to get slapped in the face and this. I'm like, what? So I'm like, and this is older woman. I'm like, all this because I said no. So basically, his dad done sent me a text. I guess everybody in his head, and I guess these people, they done took it like that no to them was like, oh my goodness, she said no to us. And I don't even think it was more so no to taking my son to the doctor. I feel as though his mom and her sisters, which is his aunts, was more so in their mindset saying I'm saying no to them, you know. So anyways, his dad had texted me a couple of days later and was like, actually no, this was okay, well, our son got fine, he recovered, he fine or whatever. So I think I don't know, just had a slight cold again, and then his dad was like, take some natural bees, some product that's by Burt's Bees. I think it's supposed to be all natural or something. But plenty of times when we took him to his pediatrician even was like, far as a cold medicine, all these over-the-counter medicines don't do nothing. They just, basically drugging up the kids. You just need to get a saline solution, like basically blow out their nose. If they got a cold, just blow out their nose. Don't be giving them no cold medicine. I don't care if it's natural or whatever. It's like they really don't do nothing for the babies. So she said this to us couple of times. I'm talking about when he was like 6 months, 7 months, during that time. So in my head, I'm like, well, that do make sense. So I'm like, I ain't gonna give him no cold medicine. If it's for a fever, yes, of course. But for cold, no. So of course that probably went over his dad's head at this time. So our son 2.5 years old now. So he got another cold, or it probably was during this time. I don't know. But his dad texted me, was like, yeah, make sure you go to the store and get this medicine. He sent me a picture of it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I ain't go to the store and get that. So his dad had texted me, a couple of days later, have you been giving him the medicine? He didn't send no medicine with me. He basically, wanted me to go to the store and have a bottle over my place. And I was like, no. So I guess he got mad at that, and he was like, well, how you expect him to get better if you ain't giving him, his medicine? And I'm like, this is over-the-counter medicine. I'm like, it doesn't work. I'm not going to be drugging my son. And I specifically said that in the text. These medicines do not work over the counter. I'm not going to be drugging my son. They don't work. And to send that to him in the text. So, I guess he ain't like that. So he's like, oh, well, since you don't want to take part in having our son get better, I'm going to file for child support. And I'm like, what? So this was in the text. I got the text and everything. I still got that text. So I was like, in my head, like, where all this come from? Like, what? I was like, because I said no, and I'm thinking, like, is this because of medicine? I didn't give him the medicine, and then I started going back, like, is this because I said no? I left out a part. So, when I came to pick my son up, like I said, his dad had him on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Monday, yeah, because that was his weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah, so all Mondays I would have him. So like I said, his grandmother will wash our son. Well, his mother will wash our son. So anyways, the day came Monday. This is after the whole sick scenario. And I said no for me leaving work early to take my son to the doctor. So Monday come. I go to his grandmother's house to pick up Melvin. And me and her, we got into this heated argument, and at the end of it all, I, of course, end up crying because I'm just like, what in the heck? Like, she was saying, like, just yelling at me, saying that I'm not a good mother because I didn't take my son to the doctor and because I left him with his dad. And mind you, his dad is her son. So I'm like, what are you basically saying? Your son is not capable of, of doing this, And I'm like, I left him with his dad, like he's with his dad. And she was just like, no, he need to be with his mom. He was sick. And I'm like, he kept medicine. Like, she was like, you ain't even go pick up his medicine. I ain't even say that I went up there, but it was already, picked up. I left that part out because I'm like, it wouldn't even mean anything. And, and who was this, she probably wouldn't believe me, no way. So I ain't even say all that to her. But I'm like, he's good. Like, my son is good. He's healthy, this and that. But she just kept going on. And then I was saying, well, since I'm not she was like a real mother. She ain't said good mother. She said a real mother. She said, you're not a real mother. So when she was saying that and I going back at her, I was just like, well, you're not a real grandmother. I'm like, how this is your only child that you watch and you run a daycare center, a licensed daycare center. This is your only child, your grandson. You 10 minutes from the doctor's office. I said, for one, you supposed to put that daycare provider thing on second and then put the grandmother instinct first. Like, if he really had to go to the doctor, you and him is the only people in this house. You got a car seat in your car. Like, you could have took him to the doctor. I'm like, so you not a real grandmother. You over here, thinking as a provider. You need to be thinking as a grandmother. You could have took him, without getting, let me know you was taking him. Or yeah, ask me if I couldn't do it. If his dad couldn't do it, then you take him, So I was saying all that. So I was like, you ain't a real grandmother. You ain't a real grandmother. Since I'm not a real mother, you ain't a grill, a real, well, I want to say grill. Somebody must be grilling out or whatever. But the steak is done. Okay, steak. Let me cut you off. Oh, I know somebody must be grilling, and then I got the steak in the oven. That's probably why. right before I beat. All right, so I'm going to see, can I hurry up with this video? Oh goodness, it's 30 minutes in. All right, okay, Demetra. So basically, yeah, me and her, we got into it. And the sad thing about it was in front of Melvin, my baby, my son. He was in a car, and not the car seat, in a high chair in the kitchen. So he heard everything. And like I was taking him out, putting his coat on, and then he was in the living room. But the thing is, he heard all of this. And then what made me really start to cry, because I'm just like, no kid should be hearing arguments, adults argue. Like, I grew up in that kind of household and I didn't like it. So I'm looking at my son like, oh my goodness, like, this is not a good look. So at the end of it all, me and her, we hugged it out. Like I said, I was crying. I can't remember if she was crying or not, but I know that was an emotional thing for me. Yes, the black screen, Eleanor. Well, yeah, I'm talking to myself. You see, it's all black. How was your nap? It was good. Yeah. But so yeah, so that happened on a Monday. Like, once I picked him up from her on Mondays. Mondays was my days. So like I said, I think, yeah, right after that, that's when like the rudeness started coming, like toward, like from his family. Like, they was just like going off on me. And I'm like, these the same woman who was like, praising me and congratulating me and just, encouraging me and, just saying nice things about me, but all of a sudden, once that incident happened, I became like the worst person ever because I said no. So basically, yeah, once I seen his dad send me that text about the child custody thing, I was like, what in the heck? So then I'm like, you don't be playing, in my head, I'm like, nobody should be playing with, threaten somebody to take him for child custody. I'm like, I ain't even thinking about none of that. Like, what the heck? Like, come on now. Like, here we go with the drama. Like, come on. But I'm about to end it there. So yeah, so basically this video, this black box, this is truth, this is my truth, is about the first time I said no, and it seemed like it triggered a whole lot of these people demons the first time I said no to them, or to her, or not even with my son. This is the first time with all of my children, that I was like, I'm not going to leave work early, tell his dad. That's the first time that ever came out of my mouth, out of being a mom. Shoot, out of being a physical mom, since my oldest son just turned 20. So, yeah. But during this time, I think my son, this happened, I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So, whatever. Y'all can do the math. So, that's about it. All right, so let me end it there. So, yeah. Hopefully this video, like I said, is for me documenting anyway. Alrighty. See you, Demetra.